Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to the podcast Ask the GTO. Over the last few days, Sir asked defense aspirants to send their doubts regarding SSB. And honestly, the response was amazing. We received questions from first timer candidates, repeaters, college students, working professionals, basically people from all kinds of backgrounds. And what we found interesting was that although the questions were different, most of them revolved around the same things: leadership, psychology, interview, group tasks, and understanding what assessors are actually looking for. So, today, instead of just discussing theory, we are going to address some of those real doubts directly. And joining me today, we have Colonel MP Dinesh Nair. Sir has spent over 3 decades in the Indian Army and has also worked closely with the assessment system. And through SRJAN and his mentorship programs, he has guided thousands of defense aspirants. And we are so excited to hear your thoughts as an assessor and most importantly, as a mentor.
Dhwani, thank you so much. And I am also equally excited to disperse whatever knowledge that I have, and more importantly, to bust all those myths and misconceptions that are floating around in the environment. I'm really looking forward to this session.
Thank you so much, sir. But before we get into the questions, I want to start with something simple. Sir, after interacting with so many defense aspirants over the years, what's the one misconception SSB about SSB that refuses to die?
I think you have broached upon a very, very important topic, and that I suppose, is the start point of any SSB journey. And this biggest misconception is that SSB is tough. The misconception that SSB contains things which are out of the box, something which you have never seen before. And I want to break this misconception right away, because if you start with the perception that it is tough, obviously your brain is going to discourage you from doing it. Please understand, whatever you are being made to do in the SSB is all within your experience and knowledge. What you have gained in those last 18 to 21 years, depending upon the entry that you're going for. Nothing is difficult. It is all well within your knowledge. Therefore, go there with absolute confidence. Because if you go thinking that it is tough, the first thing that is going to get affected is your self confidence. And somewhere the other qualities get subdued because of this low self confidence. So I think that is the biggest myth that needs to be busted.
I think that's a great starting point, sir. Let's move to the first theme, which generated a lot of discussion among aspirants. Sir, many candidates feel that they constantly need to lead, give ideas, and remain visible during group tasks. At what point does leadership become domination, and how do assessors differentiate between genuine team player and someone who is simply trying to outshine others?
I think another very pertinent question that you have asked, Dhwani. See, you must understand one thing. What you display outside is a reflection of what you carry within. If what you carry within is feeling of domination or doing everything for your own sake, having selfish mentality, that is exactly what you're going to display outside. But you can be a good leader while you're doing majority of the task, and yet you can show your group mindedness. But remember, it has to come naturally. So it's all about the intentions that you carry within. If your intention at every time is only to project yourself, invariably under the stress of time, the task, and the fact that you're being assessed, your spontaneous nature will come out. And what is your spontaneous nature that you carry within? That you are selfish. And if that is the thing that you're carrying within, it will get displayed even if you are not doing majority of the task. At the same time, if you have been contributing in 100% of this task, and yet you carry an intention of being a benign, helping leader, that will get displayed. So it doesn't matter whether you are being consistently being involved or in being involved only 10%. You can display your selfishness even if you are involved in 10%. At the same time, you can display your group mindedness even if you are involved 100% in the task. So you might be involved continuously in the task, and yet you might show that you are somebody who bothers about the group. It all gets displayed in the way you listen to others, the way you are helping others, the way you are seeking for help, the way you are carrying the team like this. And believe me, that comes naturally because the various pressures that act there will bring out your spontaneous nature. So, despite all the preparations that you might undergo, if you're not carrying that good intention within you, you will display that dominating nature, even though you're very cautious that I should not display domination. You should not display domination. But if that is what you're carrying within, it does get displayed somewhere or the other. And it also get displayed, you are too cautious. And even that cautiousness at critical places and the places where the mask simply falls down is noted by the GTO. A candidate might think that he's come prepared, he has got his defenses, and this is what he's trying to project. He doesn't understand a GTO is trained to read between the lines. He is trained to take the subtle signals that comes from the leader or from the candidate. He reads the subtle signals and manifestations that is coming from the rest of the group. The side glance, the smirk, all those things are being noticed. And you cannot prepare yourself for all that, right? So I don't think one should bother whether I'm, being involved too many number of times or less number of times. Just keep your intentions right. And where? Not just in SSB, in your life, in your house, in your colony, in your college, in your school, keep your intentions right. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it did. So that brings us to another very common concern among aspirants. Sir, many candidates come out of SSB believing they performed really well, but they still don't get recommended. But on the other hand, some candidates who feel they were average, they end up getting selected. So, what's often a mismatch between a candidate's perception of performance and the actual outcome? And can aspirants realistically evaluate their own performance after an SSB attempt?
Okay. I know it's a very complicated answer. It requires a lot of time, but let me try to put in a very crisp manner. Firstly, please understand, you are only seeing about one fourth of others' performance. One fourth. Out of three techniques, you don't know about his psych, you don't know about his interview. You have seen only in his GTO and that too in his basic series. And that too when you are more bothered about what you are doing. You have seen just about one fourth or one fifth of his performance. Now, based on that, you are trying to judge that he was average, I was, excellent. I didn't make it, he made it. Now, also remember that when you saw that person's performance being average or even below average, and yet he getting recommended, please believe me, he may not have been recommended by the GTO. But because of his psyche and his, the past being okay, he might have been recommended by the interviewing officer and the psychologist. And the GTO may not have any negativity towards him because of which he has refused to come up. So therefore, yes, your assessment of that person is right. That you didn't see him participating in GTO ground, but you don't know how he has participated in psych and interview. Similarly, and sometimes what happens is we tend to overestimate our own capabilities, and sometimes we feel we have done extremely well. Like, for example, you find that somebody has nominated or the group has nominated you for the GP solution, but actually you might have been very illogical in your solutions. It might be because of your overbearing nature or because there was timidity in the group that they nominated you. Now you feel you have been nominated, you have got adequate physical abilities, and therefore, you are entitled to get recommended. On the other hand, there might also be cases when you might have actually performed well in the GTO and the GTO would have recommended you also. But you may not have done well in your psyche and psych test and the interview. That's why you would have got not recommended. So therefore, there are various permutation combinations. Also, there are cases when a person, the conference marks required is 240 to get discussed. Maybe you landed up in 239. Maybe you weren't all that bad. It is just that one mark that made the difference. So don't get disheartened, and in fact, stop focusing upon why you got recommended or why you didn't get recommended. Instead, simply focus on your personality of problem solving, being team mindedness, being group effective, and a person who does not give up. I think focus on this.
It's
I'm sorry,
very
this was a
important to.
yeah, sorry, this was a long answer. I think I could have spoken more on it, but I thought I'll put it in crisp manner so that we can keep it within the time limit of the podcast. Yes, go ahead.
It genuinely helped us a lot, and it's very important to focus on ourselves rather than focusing on what others are performing. Well, sir, that naturally leads to a question of self-awareness and self-assessment.
Correct.
Sir, how can a candidate honestly assess whether they are genuinely suitable for a career in the armed forces or whether they still need significant improvement? Because many defense aspirants describe themselves as having a negative mindset or a negative psychology. So, how does that reflect during assessment and what practical steps can they take to improve?
Again, a very, very pertinent question that you have asked, Dhwani. And, you really worked on the way you have structured this podcast. So, compliments to you. In fact, this was one of the questions that was asked by, one of the Instagram follower. He said that he feels he has got a negative psychology. I said, okay. So, what's negative about it? He said that he used a particular word and he said that, sir, I wrote this particular sentence and therefore I feel negative. I said, there's nothing negative about it. I said, yes, I do agree that might have had a low imagination level. You stated a simple universally known fact, but in no way it is negative. Now, the moment you say, in fact, I thought that, when we say negative, we talk about psychopathic tendencies, depressions, and all those things. He had none of those. He was a happy-go-lucky boy. So, therefore, telling yourself as negative, I think is taking it to an extreme. Another reason is, I feel Dhwani is because people tend to go to those kind of mentors, maybe who are not well versed in the assessment system. And when they tell them something out of their general experience, I think you tend to get misled, or more importantly and seriously, you start forming a negative self image about yourself, which is very, very dangerous. So I would suggest that go to experts, go to people who have had experience in SSBs, irrespective of whether you want to go to an interviewing officer or psychologist or GTO, but go to someone who knows about the subject. Go to someone who has got the expertise rather than forming such kind of harsh, opinions about yourself. It's so wrong.
Exactly.
Now, coming to the second part as to how do you know you're fit for armed forces? See, please remember, armed forces job is not something which is very, very different from any other leadership position. After all, uh, you know, a person, there are many leaders, armed forces leaders who are today governors, who are chief ministers of various states. So that means leadership is somewhere, there's a commonality in leadership, right? Now, what is like, again, for the sake of repetition, uh, what is required? You should be a problem solver. You should be group minded. You should be somebody who gets himself or herself counted in a group. And lastly, you're a person who does not give up. That's all. These are the four requirements to become armed force officer. In fact, that is required for any leadership role. What is required for you to decide whether you are, you are meant for the armed forces is whether you have the passion to don the uniform. That is what decides. You can have great leaders, may not have passion to don uniform. So ask yourself, what is your purpose? Is that thing creating a special vibe within you? When you see the uniform, when you see the combat scenes, when you see or hear the stories of armed forces, does that create a ripple within you? then you are definitely made for the armed forces. How do you develop yourself? Develop these four qualities. I hope that answers the question.
Yes. Well, that I this reminds me of a quote. He who has a why can bear almost anyhow.
Absolutely. I think your why is very, very important. Yes.
Exactly.
So well
Sir,
said.
perception is another area where aspirants often have doubts. Sir, candidates frequently ask whether tasks such as GPE, lecturate, psychology tasks, and other SSB activities can be practiced at home. What would you recommend to a candidate who has only a few months left before their attempt?
Okay. All right. I think let's get back to the first question of what is the biggest myth that I would like to burst. Uh, I told you SSB wants to see not how you're working in a completely new situation. They want to see how have you coped up with the situation so far in your life. And therefore, they are always giving you situations which you have done so far. Like group discussion, I always keep giving the example of when a family decides whether they want to have a dosha, idli, or North Indian food, a chole bhature, different family members can have different arguments as to why they want to have idli or dosha or chole bhature. Now that's a group discussion. Now, if you were rigid कि नहीं आज तो मैं डोसा ही खाऊंगा, then there's an issue with you. You're not ready to listen to others' point of view. Or if you feel that your mom has got a Sunday, that is the only day when she needs to rest, so it is better to go for idli because it is easy to make. You're being concerned about others. That's a compassion you're showing, which is translated to factor two as far as the OLQs are concerned.
Yes.
So therefore, getting back to your question, how do they practice? You have to practice not the task, but you have to experience the OLQs. Experience the OLQs. Be practical in life. Be rational in life. Be deliberate when you're solving any problems. Have compassion towards others. Be group minded. Whether in your family, colony, school, college, be group minded. See how can you contribute towards the society. Be effective in a group. Don't just be a yes man. Don't be a follower. Where you feel that things are wrong or where you feel that you have got an idea, put it across. The idea might be wrong, the idea might be rejected, doesn't matter. But as long as you have got that guts or the confidence to put across, I think you're meeting a requirement of the armed forces. Now, and second, of course, the last, of course, is not giving up. Now, that is also something which you can practice, isn't it? You go for cycling, you do 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers, and then you want to give up. You tell your brain, no, another 500 meters, then only I'll go back home. You're practicing determination. Now, that's as far as the experience OLQs are concerned. Now, what about the task? Yes, you can practice tasks. Practice PPDT, writing, but don't try to analyze it yourself. Get it analyzed by a mentor. Let him decide whether it is positive, negative, conclusive, inconclusive, or whatever, whether it is observational, whether it is preaching, advisory role. Let them decide. You try to inculcate good qualities in your daily life and practice the tools simply to get familiar with it. To see to it that whether you are able to write the story within that allotted 5 minutes, whether you are able to write the VAT sentences within 15 seconds, whether you are able to complete the SRT in those 30 seconds, whether you are able to generate various solutions in SRT. So practice that. As far as GP is concerned, see to it that you are practicing various GPs just to see if in 10 minutes you are able to put the problems, prioritize them, identify the solutions, and solve the four problems which are there within the GP. So, and also you can practice lecturate, standing in front of the mirror or getting a accountability partner and speaking to that person or sending a video to your mentor. You can practice all that, but that is all to familiarize yourself with the task, because practicing on the task is not the requirement of SSB. The requirement of SSB is what you carry within. Practicing the task is simply so that you're familiar with it and you don't carry any undue anxiety. And you know that these tasks I can do it within the laid out time. So I suppose it can be done.
Wow. Thank you so much. It was really insightful. Now, moving from preparation to interviews. Sir, when discussing qualities such as officer like qualities like discipline, responsibility, leadership, or initiative during the personal interview, should a candidate simply state these qualities or support them with examples? And what makes an interviewer believe that the claimed strength generally exists in a candidate?
Hmm. Now, see, please understand, if I simply say that, supposing you're meeting me for the first time, and I tell you, listen, Dhoni, I'm a very confident guy and I never give up in life. I'm a very lively, optimistic guy. Why would you take me on face value just because I'm saying all these things? At the same time, a simple crisis comes and I am sulking and I'm pessimistic and I'm giving up. So, therefore, instead of telling that, sir, I am disciplined, I am this, you must try to bring out as to how you are disciplined. You must try to bring out that, sir, a task comes to me and I'm a finisher. I try to finish the task, and till the time it is not finished, I don't give up. I stick to the task. Now that shows that you are a disciplined guy. Now, supposing you say, sir, I am a stickler to the rules and regulations, I like to follow what is laid down. I remember one of my own candidate whom I'm training. She says, sir, that I am so much used to being in order that anything which is told to me, I will follow it. Letter and spirit, I will follow it. Now she need not tell me that, sir, I have got sense of responsibility. By this statement, I come to know that she has a high sense of responsibility. And it actually came out in a psych, in a GTO, as well as in interview. Though she had other shortcomings, but this thing came out. So rather than simply telling or naming the OLQs, I think you have to introspect that what kind of a person you are and depict it there. And that is what you must display it there or convey it to your interviewing officer.
Amazing. Sir, another concern aspirants have is what to do when things don't go according to the plan. Whether it's a lecturate, command task, psychological task, or any other individual activity, candidates sometimes get stuck midway. So, what should their approach be when they suddenly run out of ideas and lose confidence?
Yeah, very good. Very good question. See, you must understand every candidate who is preparing for SSB should ask, why is that happening? There can be only two reasons. Either it is lack of ability or it is due to lack of faith in ability. Only two reasons, right? For example, if I am getting stuck in lecture, it is either because I don't have content or I got so stressed about being in the limelight and being the only person speaking in front of a crowd, I will give up, right? So I think, and similarly, let us say an individual obstacle, it is an individual capacity. You do four of them and you're damn tired. That means you don't have sufficient physical stamina. Or I am getting so stressed as to what I should do. I am sometimes running here, slipping and falling down, being impulsive. I am trying to climb the ladder, slipping it again and again because I am not putting my foot firmly because I am stressed. Same thing in command task. Why are you not getting an idea? Because this burden of leadership is looming large on you. And therefore, while in PGT, HGT and all, when you had the security of the group, you are coming out with all ideas. Here you are under so much of stress that you're not coming out with ideas. Now, please understand, command task is one task where it should not happen at all. That you don't have the ability because the GTO takes you to your level of command task, the level which is commensurate to your level. So if you are not able to do it, the only reason is you have come under stress. And it is that stress or the perception that it is difficult which is making you give up. And a person, of course, there's a lot to talk about command task, but I think we'll keep it for some other podcast. But sufficient to say now that focus on these two things, ability and lack of faith in ability. And lack of faith in ability leads to stress. So you carry the ability, but you lack the faith, and that creates stress. And that's what creates the problem. So if you carry out
Very,
that kind of introspection, I'm sure you'll be able to overcome it.
yes, absolutely, sir. Very important point, sir. Sir, many aspirants also seek guidance through mentors and coaching institutes. What should a student realistically expect from a mentor? Where does the mentor's responsibility end and the candidate's responsibility begin? Because we have spoken about having a good mentor as well. So can you please answer this?
Yeah. I think getting a good mentor in life is very, very important. Very important. And it is not a new phenomenon. People talked about gurus, Dronacharya, Valmiki, Vishwamitra. They all were gurus, isn't it? And those gurus were important as they are today. If you look back to your school days, you will remember that there was that one odd teacher who motivated you to do something great and realize your capabilities. And that's what a guru is supposed to do. Mentor is important, no doubt. Uh, the General Powell of USA had Alexander the Great as his mentor, not face to face, but he had read everything about Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great himself had Hercules as his mentor, a mythological figure. He used to sleep with that book on Hercules under his pillow. Mentors are important. You have to see that what is connecting you with that mentor. With every mentor, a mentee will connect because somewhere it vibes with your vibes. So it's very important for the aspirants to talk to the mentor. Don't simply go on the website and see the successes that so many recommended. No. See whether the value system of the mentor gels with your value system. That's important. What is his vision? What is his passion? That becomes very important. So talk to the mentor and see if it gels with you and then join that. Because if you don't have faith in your mentor, then you will never succeed much in life. I am not telling that have faith in any mentor, but just like your faith in yourself is important, your faith in your mentor is equally important. Okay. Yeah.
Have faith in yourself and have faith in your mentor.
Mentor.
Very important.
Absolutely.
So now let's move to a topic that creates anxiety for almost every aspirant. So candidates often overthink TAT, WAT, SRT, and SDT. Instead of focusing on techniques and shortcuts, what mindset should candidates carry while attempting psychological tests?
Yeah. I think that's again a very, very important question, Dhoni. With so many myths and misconceptions and hacks and shortcuts existing in the environment, I think today's SSB aspirant or candidate has lost his originality. He actually comes to the SSB with a mask which might actually be hiding a good personality. So people think that there is a clear-cut framework by which they should, attempt these tests, and then they will get through. Therefore, you will find that similar pattern being followed for all TAT stories. What they don't realize is when they follow the same pattern, it shows lack of originality because different
Yes.
pictures are supposed to stimulate different emotions in you. It is supposed to stimulate different imaginations in you. But if everywhere you are coming with the same template, it shows your limited imagination. So therefore, it is not working in your favor. That shortcut or hack which you thought will work is actually going against you. Left to yourself, maybe you would have come out with diverse kind of stories, which would have been equally imaginative. See, please understand, whether it is TAT, WAT, or SRTs, what you are required to do, you are required to firstly relate to that story or the picture which is there. That means if you are seeing negativity, address the negativity towards a productive outcome. If you don't see negativity in the sense that there is nothing in the picture to indicate negativity, don't create negativity. A person simply cycling on a road doesn't have to end up with accidents. So
Yes.
therefore, or a person going in a boat need not drown. He could have been preparing for competition, or he could have been just enjoying with his family while doing boating, or he could be just simply raising his stamina for cycling because he wants to participate in a cyclothon. So I think one thing that should be kept in mind, please remember, only framework that becomes applicable in SSB is the framework that is applicable in your life also. There is no other framework. For example, in your life also, when you see a situation, don't imagine negativity. But if it is a negative situation, for example, you failed in maths. Now, is it a positive situation? No, it's a negative situation. But do you wallow in that negativity, or you address the negativity, find out where you have gone wrong, improve yourself so that you result in a positive, productive outcome, which is clearing your maths exam, isn't it?
Yes.
So, just like that framework is applicable to your daily life, similar framework is applicable uh, in your TAT
Psych-
stories also. Number one. Number two, we all have ideas. In fact, we are very good at ideas, the so called unsolicited advices, isn't it? Because we know what is right. We know what is right. But only thing is, we don't know or we don't put efforts to implement in our life. If you are a person who knows the idea and who goes the way to implement the idea, is a person who will depict the right kind of sentences in your WAT and SRTs.
Absolutely.
If you simply have ideas, then you will become somebody who is preaching in your outlook, because you only have ideas, you never implemented it. But the moment you start implementing, see, after all, please understand, nobody comes into this world with ideas. We learn ideas from our surroundings. We learn ideas from the internet. We learn ideas from each other. We learn ideas from the podcast. We learn ideas from the book. Nothing wrong. But have you just kept the ideas, or have you started implementing them? I'll quote Robin Sharma here, who says, ideation without action is mere delusion. So don't be deluded into thinking that you know. Yes, you have information, but you have not yet implemented it. I think when you do that in your daily life, automatically things will fall into place as far as these tests are concerned. And I think I can tell you with my experience, because during my time, I'm talking about 1989 or 93, the two SSB that I cleared, there were no coaching academies then. We didn't even know what is going to happen. We were totally clueless. But then we went there, I cleared both my SSBs. One was for Navy, one was for Army, for two different services. So therefore, it is all about what you implement in your daily life. It's all about the confidence that you feel. It is all about the perseverance that you put in into your daily task. That is what creates officer-like qualities. Don't bother too much about the tools of assessment. They are meant for the assessor. Bother about the OLQs. They are meant for you. I hope that
Yes.
answers.
Yes, it does. But, sir, what are some common mistakes candidates make when they try too hard to impress the psychologist?
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest mistake. The fact that you are trying to impress someone itself means that you're looking for validation, which is a reflection of your low self-esteem, which means you are not confident about your ideas. That's why you're trying to impress somebody. If it is a natural, because see, after all, what are those stories? Those stories are natural occurrences or daily routine occurrences. Somebody is fallen in a cycle, is bleeding, that's a picture which is being shown, or somebody going for trekking, somebody conversing with somebody. These are all daily routine situations. There is no need to impress anyone. The problem is, you feel that a particular framework which was adopted by somebody and who got recommended is what impresses. The fact, Dhoni, is you don't even know whether that person was cleared by the psychologist. Maybe he
Yeah.
was cleared by the GTO and interviewing officer. Maybe the person who has told you to follow the framework must have failed exactly because of that in the psychology test. You see? So therefore, don't go by any framework. Have faith in yourself. Implement the OLQs, and things will fall in place as far as your the tools of assessment are concerned.
Exactly. And instead of trying to impress anyone, just focus on yourself and good things will happen.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Like what
Sir,
they
now
say. Sorry, like what they say. What you focus on grows.
gross.
When you focus on your good things, the good things grows. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. So now let's talk about group discussions. One of the biggest concerns candidates have is when a group discussion turns into a fish market and everyone starts speaking simultaneously. How should a candidate participate effectively without becoming aggressive and without disappearing into the background?
Yeah. So this fish market is also a creation of these coaching academies. I think it's a fish market has been because people feel that it's only when you enter first that is initiative. No, initiative. If somebody has read the, people tend to mug up the qualities, the definition of the qualities. But if somebody has read initiative, it also says somebody who takes steps in new or subsequently emerging situation. So even if somebody is coming out with a new line of thought after 2 or 3 minutes, is also initiative. Somebody trying to coordinate the group is also initiative. The entire group is in fish market. This guy, before giving out his points, is trying to tell people, listen, gentlemen, if this is the way, we are not going to come to any kind of healthy discussion. Let us speak one by one. We have sufficient time which has been given. And there I feel the GTO, maybe this is a message to the GTOs also, I suppose, that the GTO's role becomes very, very important. He has to, during the course of his briefing, he has to make it adequately clear to the candidates that there is sufficient time. There is no requirement for making a fish market. Instead of creating a very formal atmosphere, he needs to create a kind of informal friendly atmosphere where people forget the pressure of performance. And when that happens, I think the what we call as group development starts happening spontaneously, and these kind of fish markets can be avoided. However, despite everything, if the fish market does takes place, I would suggest that first of all, try to, again, please don't take it as a template. It all varies from context to context, situation to situation. But I would suggest that try to slightly raise your volume, not in an aggressive manner, but in a way that you can be heard. Try to get some kind of order into the discussion and then put across your point of view, right? And when
Yes.
people see that you are not just bothered about yourself, but you're actually trying to put the things in order, I'm sure people will listen. Like I have told before also, it is your intentions that matter. Keep your intentions good for your group and group members. Remember, there is actually no competition between you all in the group discussion or maybe in the group, in the SSB. There's no competition because there's no simply vacancies which has to be filled. All the 10 candidates in a group can get selected. I've done that. All 10 candidates, I remember it was a girls' batch, all of them got recommended. All of them were recommended by me. All of them got recommended in the after the conference also.
Wow.
So, and there have been cases when it has been washed out. The batches have been washed out. So please don't think that if I have to get recommended, somebody else has to get not recommended. No, you all function in a group. After all, the kind of fish market that you see in your SSB, do you see anywhere else this kind of group discussion taking place? No. In your house, do all four of you speak together? No, you don't. You listen to them. Why is it that after coming to SSB, you have to create a fish market? Tell me something. A person who creates fish market is meant to sell fishes, not become an officer, isn't
Yes.
it? So he's fit to be there where he can shout the loudest to attract customers. But if you want to be an officer, you have to behave officer like, isn't it? Yeah.
Maintain your calm and composure.
Maintain your calm and composure. Don't have any kind of negative feeling towards others. Focus towards the task, and the task given by the GTO is very simple. Exchange your ideas in an informal way. That is a task given to you. He has not told you need to come to a conclusion. That he will tell you in GP. In GD, he has not told that you need to come to conclusion. He just says exchange your ideas. How do you exchange your ideas if all 10 are speaking at the same time? There's no exchange, there's only shouting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And sir, finally, let's address a concern that many aspirants have but often hesitate to ask openly. Some candidates take a break from studies or employment to prepare for competitive examinations. How are such gaps viewed during the person interview?
Hmm. See, the thing is that if supposing somebody has taken a year's gap to prepare for, let us say, CDS, but at the end of that 1 year, he did not clear CDS. And believe me, CDS is not a very tough exam. So the question now comes into the mind of interviewing officer, ना तो कॉलेज ज्वाइन किया ना सीडीएस क्लियर किया तो किया क्या. So that becomes an issue.
Yes.
Now, instead of feeling guilty about it, if such a thing has happened in the life of a candidate, don't feel guilty about it. See what you can do further. Like, I always tell, never be pulled back by the memory of the past. Always be driven by the vision of the future. You got to do that. This is a well established principle of success and life. Be driven by the, instead of, you have wasted 1 year, that's gone. Can you do anything about it? Nothing you can do about it. The fact is that you did 1 year, you failed in CDS. But what have you learned out of it? Why don't you convey that to the interviewing officer? If you convey it in a genuine way, yes, sir, I did make mistakes. And therefore, sir, this is what my outcome is. Like when I discuss with various interviewing officers, and especially as part of my mentorship program, and when I get this thing, what do you call the feedback about the mentees, he tells that see, she has got so and so problem, but she's aware of it, and she's taking steps to overcome it. That is a positive sign. Dhoni, please understand, we all are not perfect people. Everybody has got flaws. But are we aware of it? Are we trying to minimize it? That is what makes you a person with OADQs. Okay? Yeah.
Sir, before we conclude, if there is one piece of advice you would like to give every defense aspirant watching this podcast to remember, what would it be?
Number one, SSB is not tough. SSB is all the tasks are well within your knowledge and experience. May you all start your journey with that as the start point. It is nothing which you don't know. You know all those things. Step inside the SSB with that confidence that anything that is going to be asked is well within my knowledge and experience. I'm sure your performance will rise 2 or 3 times higher. Have faith in your abilities. While it is okay to grow, while it is good to create abilities, it is more important that start focusing on building faith in your abilities. I think that would be my parting shot for all the defense aspirants.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining and answering these questions. I am telling you, your insights will be helping so many aspirants who will be watching this podcast.
And
And to everyone watching, if today's discussion helped you, don't just listen to it and move on. Take one lesson from it and start working on it from today itself. And as Sir said, armed forces are looking for officers, not perfect people. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become an officer in thought, action, and conduct. We'll see you in the next session. Until then, Jai Hind.
Dhwani, just before we close up, the next session of SRJAN is starting on 8th of June, that is day after tomorrow. So anybody who wishes to join the program is most welcome. It is my passion to mentor candidates, not just for SSB, but to ensure that they all realize that they have within themselves, which is their extraordinary self. My passion is to make them realize that. Thank you, Dhoni. So well conducted. Your questions were so relevant, so pertinent. I am sure the way you have asked the questions, the kind of questions that have been framed, is going to help the defense aspirants. Thank you so much
Thank
and Jai Hind, all of you.
you.